So the old legacy WNBA media did not think this was possible. They did not think that.
The Indiana Fever continued to make massive moves in free agency, signing Sophie Cunningham and DeWanna Bonner. And you guys, I don't even think they're done.
Not everyone in the WNBA is happy. Right now, some players just hit the jackpot by landing on a team with. Caitlin Clark and the rest of the league is watching with envy.
So Caitlin Clark is now a member of the new Indiana Fever. Remember when they got the big five. They have five. The top 24 scorers in the WNBA last.
The Fever have built something special around Clark, adding elite veterans and rising stars who will benefit from playing alongside one of the best passers the game has seen, some fans and analysts doubted. Indiana could attract top talent, but they were dead wrong. So why are players walking to Indiana while others are left wondering what could have been? Let's break it all down, because this changes everything for the WNBA.
Jump into it. So firstly, you guys, Sophie Cunningham was traded to the Indiana Fever for Nalissa Smith and a pick. The Indiana Fever also acquired forward Jaylen Brown, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I am not familiar with her game. She is going to be only a second-year WNBA player, so we will have to see how her game translates to the Indiana Fever. But Sophie Cunningham was such a huge.
Caitlin Clark hasn't even played a game in the WNBA yet, but she's already changed the landscape of the league. When Indiana Fever won the draft lottery, it wasn't just about getting a superstar talent, it was about completely shifting the perception of the franchise. For years, Indiana had been a bottom-tier team struggling to find an identity and attract top talent. But now the table have turned, and the rest of the league is feeling at the idea that Indiana wouldn't be able to bring in key free agents. That was the narrative. People genuinely believed that veterans, established players, and rising stars wouldn't want to go play with Caitlin Clark. They thought she'd struggle to get the right supporting cast. They thought Indiana's market, its history of losing seasons, and the so-called controversies around Clark would keep players away. But here's the thing, players want to win. And if you're a competitor in the WNBA, you recognize the opportunity when it's staring you in the face. Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player, she's the kind of generational talent that makes life easier for her teammates. She's the kind of player who gets everyone involved, who turns good players into great ones, and who has the potential to bring out the best in those around her. That's why Natasha Howard made the move to Indiana.
The news just dropped. DeWanna Bonner has been signed to the Indiana Fever. I'm about to knock my light over, bro.
That's why Dananna Boner was linked to them. That's why Sophie Cunningham found herself in a Fever jersey. Let's talk about Howard for a second. She's not some random free agent signing. She's a WNBA champion, a former Defensive Player of the Year, and someone who's been part of winning teams before she had other options. And yet, she chose Indiana. Why? Because playing alongside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston is a dream situation. Clark spreads the floor, creates open looks, and is always looking to push the pace. Boston is an interior force who demands attention in the paint, and Howard, she thrives in that kind of environment. She knows that in Indiana she'll get easier buckets, more open shots, and a chance to be part of something special. When Howard signed, the reactions were mixed. Some people in the WNBA media, especially those who never really talk about basketball, acted like it was some SHING decision. They didn't understand why Howard would want to go to Indiana. They acted like the Fever were still the same old team from 2 years ago, but the reality is that the Fever are no longer that team. They have a clear vision. Now they have a star playmaker, they have a dominant post player, and they have a coach who understands how to build around that talent. That's why players want to be in Indiana. That's why the idea that nobody would sign there was always ridiculous. Then there's Sophie Cunningham. The moment she was traded to Indiana, people started to take notice. Cunningham isn't just another shooter. She's a tough, gritty, high IQ player who thrives in a system where the ball moves and players play with purpose. She's not someone who needs to dominate the ball to be effective. She knows how to move without it, how to spot up, how to make the extra pass, all things that will be huge playing next to Clark. And let's not forget her defense and attitude. Cunningham is known for playing with an edge, for being a disruptor, and for never backing down. That kind of mentality is exactly what Indiana needed. You don't want a team that's just talented, you want a team that's mentally tough, battle-tested, and willing to fight every single night. That's what makes this new Fever squad different. It's not just about Talent, it's about fit. Clark, Boston, Mitchell, Cunningham, Howard. That's a lineup that makes sense. That's a lineup that can compete. That's a lineup that has a clear identity. And the rest of the WNBA, they're seeing it. They're seeing that the Fever have quietly built something dangerous. They're seeing that free agents are choosing Indiana over other teams. And whether they'll admit it or not, there's some serious envy building up the teams that overlooked Clark, the ones who tried to push the idea that she wouldn't be a game changer in the WNBA. They're starting to realize they completely miscalculated. Clark isn't just bringing excitement to the field, she's making them a legitimate contender faster than anyone expected. The players who doubted Indiana, they're watching now, and some of them are probably thinking, did I make the wrong choice? Because playing in Indiana isn't a bad gig anymore. It's starting to look like one of the best situations in the entire league, and as the season gets closer, the noise is only going to get louder. The WNBA is waking up to a new reality. The Indiana Fever aren't just rebuilding, they're rising fast, and the rest of the league, some players are feeling that instant envy of the situation brewing in Indiana. The same players who may have overlooked the Fever in free agency are now seeing the team take shape, and for some the realization is setting in. They missed out. Caitlin Clark is the obvious centerpiece of this transformation, but it's about much more than just one player. The front office has quietly built one of the most balanced, well-structured rosters in the WNBA, and it's making other teams take notice. For years, Indiana was a team that nobody feared. They were just another stop on the schedule, a team you expected to beat. But that's changing. The pieces they've added, the way they've structured their roster, and the chemistry already forming, it's enough to make players and executives around the league pay attention, but not everyone saw it coming. Some WNBA media med members tried to push the idea that Indiana wasn't a desirable destination. They focused on outside factors, ignored basketball logic, and failed to understand what truly makes a team attractive to players. What those critics didn't realize was simple: players want to win, and they want to play in systems that maximize their strengths. That's exactly what Indiana has built with Clark at the helm. Indiana's style of play is modern, fast-paced, and unselfish. It's a system designed to make life easier for scorers, shooters, and post players, something that every serious competitor wants to be part of. Take Natasha Howard, for example. When she signed with Indiana, some people questioned it. They acted like she was making some mysterious decision, like there had to be something other than basketball driving her choice. But Howard made it clear she wanted recognition. She wanted to win. She wanted to play somewhere where she could thrive. Indiana offered her that the old media types didn't understand why she would choose Indiana. But any real basketball mind did. Playing next to Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, that's a perfect situation for a versatile forward like Howard. She won't have to force offense, she won't have to carry the team, and she'll get better looks than she has in years. And let's not forget Daniana Boner. She was heavily linked to the Fever, and at first the skeptics scoffed at the idea of why would she go to Indiana. They asked, well, why wouldn't she? The Fever play a team-first up-tempo game where veteran scorers can extend their careers and still be highly productive. If Boner had joined the Fever, she wouldn't have been asked to play 35-plus minutes a night like in previous seasons. She'd be surrounded by young, energetic talent and would have had the freedom to focus on what she does best, scoring and leadership. Instead, she stayed in Connect Ike, a team that will still be competitive, but might not be as fun to play for as Indiana. Because here's the thing, Indiana is about to be one of the most fun teams to watch and play for. Clark's passing ability, Boston's dominance inside, Mitchell's scoring, Cunningham's toughness, and Howard's versatility, it's all coming together in a way that very few teams can match. And now the WNBA is paying attention. Teams that once laughed off Indiana are now watching closely. Players who might have overlooked the Fever in free agency are now rethinking their choices. Because if Indiana makes a deep playoff run this year, and trust me, they might, those same players who passed on Indiana are going to regret it. The beauty of the Fever's roster is how well it fits together. They don't just have talent, they have the right kind of talent. Caitlin Clark isn't a ball-dominant guard who takes bad shots. She's a high IQ playmaker who gets her teammates involved. That means scorers like Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham will get better looks than ever before. Aaliyah Boston isn't just a solid post player, she's an elite two-way big who can anchor a defense and dominate on the glass.